it's not saying that someone doesn't practice enough. It's the way they go about learning. For me, it was like I lived a very lonesome life for 2 years when I was working two different jobs, and they were both teaching jobs. So I would start in the afternoon, and then I would go until like 8 or 9 p.m. at night. And so by the time I got home, it's like I just play Hearthstone until the sun rises or something. And I didn't hang out with anyone. I just played Hearthstone for 2 years, and that's how I got good. Probably that I didn't really practice with my decks I would bring. I build them a couple days before and just pilot it, except for my main decks like Control Mage or whatever I was running in ladder. Yeah, I definitely spent a lot of time theory crafting, because tournament style is definitely very different from ladder, and being in person playing was also very different from ladder, because what I've learned to do was to really measure body language and timing and things like that in Hearthstone, because you can see all that when you're sitting across from the person. Like you know, it's not poker, right? People practice hiding their emotions in poker, but not in Hearthstone. So when they react a certain way, or when they top deck, or their eyes go like that when they top deck something, it's like, oh, gotta play conservative now, because they just top deck something good. And it was like little things, like if they moused over any cards, how long in between turns they would wait to play, and then trying to guess their decisions as the game went on. Because, you know, at the end of the day, it's 30 cards each, and it's 30 cards that you can memorize. And at some point, when you've practiced enough, like when you bring decks to counter the other decks, it's not that you counter them on paper, it's that you've already played the other decks and you understand how they work, and you've played enough games of that deck to kind of have a certain script in your head of how the game's supposed to go and how certain turns are supposed to play out. So when you do bring your counter decks, it's like you know what their objective is to do, and you try to make it as complicated for them to achieve that objective, and through that you have that tiny little edge of having your deck be a counter to their deck. At the same time, kind of reading them and just outright guessing what was in their hand every single turn. Like they have 4 cards in their hand, and so, you know, depending on mulligan, how many cards they mulligan, you track like how many they mulligan, which card was where, just like hand reading, hand tracking. And it does get to the point where you can kind of guess what maybe at least a solid 3 of the 5 cards they have in their hand. And for me to do that now, it's like I've not kept up. Like I would have to grind as much as I need to get back to where I could start reading hands again. Does that kind of make sense? That was kind of like a long spiel or whatnot. And I think that sense of cunning is what separates, like, you know, all the great players out there from other people. Because they do, you know, when you see them on live streams, they do kind of look up sometimes and kind of read the other person. Yeah, that was my mindset a bit when laddering. Yeah, man, that was good times. I definitely enjoyed the psychological side of Hearthstone. The game looks great, the cards are great, animations are great. I spent money on it, but, you know, I think games come in phases, definitely. Yeah.